as I did that night. I was driving home from an office party. I was a little drunk and feeling tipsy. At one point, I almost dozed off behind the steering wheel when a loud honk of a pickup truck scared the bejesus out of me. I realized this is high time to stop for food and a strong cup of coffee, but after driving for half an hour, I didn't find any fast food chains or restaurants. I was losing hope when I noticed a 7-Eleven store down the road. I stopped right in front of it and with stumbling footsteps entered the store. The old cashier behind the counter was sitting with his eyes closed.
Excuse me? What?
He replied without opening his eyes.
Do you have any coffee?
I asked.
Is this your first time into a 7-Eleven?
Still kept his eyes closed.
Kind of.
I replied in a drunken voice. He opened his drowsy eyes, looked at me with great disappointment, and pointed to the left-end corner.
Welcome to 7-Eleven. The coffee machine is there.
I felt a little embarrassed because, honestly, it was indeed my first time in a 7-Eleven. Why? Because I never got the chance to visit one until that night. I walked up to the coffee machine and on my way grabbed a few munchies to go with. The coffee machine was pouring very slowly, or maybe it felt like that because I was drunk. While I waited for the process to be over, I heard the store door open and close. I looked at the counter and saw a woman in her late 50s wearing a pink dress with huge sunflowers printed on it. She stopped at the counter and asked the cashier something. The cashier was already sailing in his dreamland, so he didn't open his eyes this time. The woman turned around when our eyes met. She let out a freaky smile. I know I was intoxicated, but believe me when I say this, the woman had a huge set of teeth. Her teeth were so sharp and pointy that it felt like she filed them artificially. The color of her teeth was a sick yellow, which made me nauseous. I turned my face away from her and concentrated on my coffee. I must have taken one sip of my cup when I heard her footsteps coming towards me. I kept a straight face, trying my best not to get agitated by her. She came close to me and said in a squeaky voice,
I don't mean to disturb you, but can you tell me where I can find the dental floss? The cashier seems to be too busy for the customers.
At any other time, I would have ignored her, but I needed to finish the coffee before going back to the car. And I wanted her off my back, so I pointed to the shelf ahead where I could see some toothbrushes hanging.
I think you might find it there.
You are drunk.
I got embarrassed when she said it, but I smiled awkwardly.
My husband used to get drunk like you.
She thought for a few seconds, like she was trying hard to remember when the last time her husband got drunk, and then said,
Until he died.
What?
I exclaimed in shock. She smiled again, flashing her disgusting teeth, and went back to get dental floss. Honestly, she did need some dental care, along with a mental checkup. I watched her. She stopped at the shelf, picked up a dental floss, and to my surprise, started flossing right there. Yeah, like literally pulled the thread out and started flossing her teeth. Her eyes were set on me, and mine on her. We were caught in each other's stare. After a point, I did look away. I finished my coffee and was all set to leave when I heard a small tingling sound, the sound of a bead dropping on the floor. What happened next will forever be imprinted in my memory. I looked down to see what she dropped and saw a big, sharp yellow tooth with blood stains on its ends lying on the floor. The woman wasn't just flossing her teeth, she was flossing them violently enough for them to fall out one by one. She was chopping her tooth one by one from her gums. Her face looked horrifying. There were no signs of pain, even though her gums bled. She was staring at me without blinking and continuing to floss like a barbarian. I don't know why she was doing this, but fear choked my throat and I forgot to scream. My legs were frozen, palms were sweating. I wanted to scream and run away, but couldn't. I don't know how long I stood like that and watched the woman getting rid of her teeth. Once she was done, she wiped her bleeding mouth with a handkerchief and then smiled at me one last time. But this time, her smile was even freakier. a set of swollen, empty gums forming the most petrifying smile in the world. She calmly walked back to the counter, kept $1 in front of the sleepy cashier, and left the store. The pile of bloody teeth was still scattered on the floor, and I could feel my stomach churn. I ran outside and vomited my butt off. I somehow drove back home and got very bad dreams throughout the night. But the story doesn't end there. A month later, I was sitting in my living room, sipping morning coffee, when I turned to the news. I saw her again, but this time with more context. The caption read, "Cannibal wife ate husband and then pulled out her teeth." Yes, that psycho woman was a murderer turned cannibal who killed her husband and then feasted on her husband's flesh. The news reporter also said that when the cops asked her why she pulled out her teeth, she laughed, saying,
I punished myself for being a bad wife, but I swear, he tasted so mouthwatering.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the video. If so, please leave a like. And also, a small percentage of people that watch my videos are actually subscribed. If you want to support this channel and make this channel reach the 1 million mark, please consider subscribing. It's free and you can change your mind later. Enjoy.
I work as a gas station employee in the state of Maine. It's a pretty quiet job, but I don't mind it. It's just another day when a man in a thick coat and a hat comes into the store and asks for a pack of bubble gum. Anything else I can get for you? That'll be all. Alright, sir. Your total is $3.92. Have a great day. I ring him up and he pays cash and leaves. That happens every day. You feel me? Well, it happened differently today. Maine is a state that you can't ever really describe unless you've been there. The cold, desolate gray fog rolled in from the Atlantic, a blizzard setting in just as I was about to close up shop. It's nights like these that make me wonder if I'm really cut out for this job. Anyway, I digress. Let me explain to you what happened to me today, and why I'm never going back to that 7-Eleven again. I waved goodbye to the customer as he went out into the cold night, and I followed him out the door. The clock was a few minutes before the time I had to close anyway, so I figured I'd close early and bid farewell to that 7-Eleven. After all, nobody would be out in a blizzard like this, and I wouldn't be too long. It was then that I noticed the man had stopped at the corner of the lot, just staring at me. Nodding to him, I made my way back toward my car, but the man started loitering towards me. "Hey boy," he said, "you finished up at that 7-Eleven? Mind giving me a ride home?" "Isn't that your truck over there?" I asked, pointing to the black pickup parked a few feet away. I could feel the hair standing on the back of my neck, but I tried to stay calm. He smiled and shook his head, mumbling something.